All right, good evening. Welcome back to the shop. You're getting a different view of where you normally would be. Normally, I have the camera set up, right over here. There's the camera stand, and you're facing me. Now you're at the other end of the bench, looking down. Last time we were talking about what I was thinking about making a frame for the lid to the box. And somebody pointed out that they'd like to see the whole dimensioning process, which I thought was going to be a little bit boring. But if somebody is out there and wants to see it, I'm more than happy to get that all set up. So first and foremost, I'm going to use this piece here because I think this is going to be the most interesting one to see what happens to get this down. My thought right now is to get one face flat, one edge. Because taking down the thickness, I don't know what thickness I want until I have a face and an edge all squared and everything, and then I'll see how much material I have, and that will determine a lot of it. So I don't want to go through all of that, but this piece here, this is going to be the two styles. If you're looking at the frame in a like a vertical thing, these are the two that are on the short sides that go up and down. The vertical ones, those are the styles. The rails go lengthwise. So before I got to this point, earlier today, I took some time and I sharpened all my planes that I anticipate using just to get everything done. So first and foremost, let's have a look at that. This piece has got, I've had this piece for quite a few years. That big box that I made last time to show you what the frames are, that's what, when I bought this piece, and that was just a big flaw in here. And the rest of the wood is perfectly good. I just got to figure out how to use it. So I don't want to flatten this whole piece, just for economic reasons, when I know I can't use this part of it at all. So my first thought is I'm going to get rid of as much material here as I can. And so what I'm going to do, take a square, and normally I would use a pencil, but I've got a marker here just so you can see what's going on. I'm going to draw a line there, and just going to draw a line connecting it there just so I have some reference marks. And that's just going to, can we see the black line? Just so that way I know I'm only working on this piece, so that way when I'm flattening it, I only really have to worry about the piece that I'm working on. So now we're going to cut this piece off. That's all waste. And there's a couple of different ways I can do that. I can put that in the vise like this and cut it down. That's a perfectly acceptable way to do it. I've got a bench hook, which I can, I would probably do it that way because then the good piece is being pushed forward. I can then cut along here, and that's perfectly acceptable. That would do it. You'll notice I'm not taking the knife and making a score line all the way around yet, because this is just rough dimensioning. But because my favorite way, so if I was alone and wasn't videoing anything, I would have here my a saw bench. And let's see, can I see that? Yep. It's normal. This isn't the configuration I would have it in, but just so you can see, my preferred method. I'm going to keep the end that I'm keeping next to me, and the benefit of the saw bench, it's designed very specifically. The top of it is my knee height. So what's going to happen is my knee is going to go down, and so the force of me leaning down is going to keep this piece in place. And I'm going to overhang it just a little bit more. I've got a cross-cut saw, and so I'm looking at the line that I made, going in both directions. I'm going to put the knuckle of my thumb right up there, get it started, and I am looking looking at those two lines. So right now I'm looking at the line going down, so that way I'm vertical, and then I'm following the line I made across the top. I'm going to try to just use the weight, and I don't know if you can tell, but my weight is just going down through my arm to clamp the piece. A very efficient way of doing it. Okay, but that's not going to work too much sliding around. And once I get to a certain point, you can see how the piece is jerking on me. But since I started the cut pretty well, the saw is just going to keep tracking right along that path. And as I get to the end, it starts making a different sound. So I'm going to reach around and kind of hold the waist piece. I don't know if you just saw that, because I'm having some difficulty there, I shifted my weight more, so that way it's over the top of everything. Now, this piece isn't going to be perfectly square, but it's definitely close enough to get me what I need to do. Get this back out of the way. And the trouble I was having, the grain on here is very... It's very much cross-grained, and it fights you tooth and nail. So, now I got to determine what size I'm going to flatten. I put it down on my bench, which is pretty flat, and I don't know if you can hear that. It's rocking a little bit. And the reason I picked this piece instead of, say, one of these, this is too wide to cut in one pass on my... with the planes, so you get a better view of what I actually do. These are going to go so much faster because the planes that I use are wider than that. So I don't really have to worry about twists or anything, but I will on this piece. So I'll show you how I do it. This is just a very simple T jig. It's just a one piece of flat cleat, and this is a 1/4-inch piece of plywood. I think I'm going to eventually do that with like an 1/8 inch piece or something really thin. Let's see, I'm going to put that here. I've got a bench dog that'll fit there, but generally what I like to use on the everyday, because it's readily available and easy for me to grab, is a bench dog. Is a bench hook. A hold fast. Couldn't think of the name of it. And normally these work. I would take my mallet and I would pound right here, and they would push down, and this would be locked in. But I don't really have to worry about that. The only thing I'm really using this for is as a stop. So that way when I push up against here, and so now this just kind of floats there. I've got my, that's a rag in a can. There's oil infused on that rag. It's an old t-shirt, and that took nothing. And so right here I am kind of adjusting. Since I just sharpened this plane today, when I sharpen, you pull the blade way back, and I'll show you. I've got a very thin piece here, which is I gotta get a new one because I'm almost finished with this one. And you run the plane over the middle and the two sides, and you want all three to come out even, or at least the two extremes, the two outsides, to come out even. So it becomes much more efficient when the blade is not very far retracted, to see if the blade itself is in a good position. I'm going to stop talking for a second. I want you to hear what's going on. You're hearing that, and let's see if I can get a good close up. Smooth, rough. plane blade is hitting here, plane blade is hitting here, but not in the middle. That's the, it's missing that middle part. And the goal is to get it all, yeah, I said I'm going to stop talking. I didn't stop talking. The goal is to get it all nice and flat, and it makes a different sound. It just, and I can see it much more clearly than you can probably hear it, or that I can hear. So I'm here, I can hear what's going on, I can see what's going on. So it's much easier for me. Gonna hit it with a little bit more oil. Now if we look at that shape, that's about as wide as that plane can take. So we call those full length, full width shavings, and that's how I know I'm pretty flat. But I'm not going to just assume it's pretty flat. I'm going to check it. So this is my square, that's straight. Behind you is a fluorescent light, so that's what I'm holding it up to. The camera is attached to a ring light that I find a bit blinding. Now this is really close, but I can still see light coming through there, and I think that's a function of the plane. This plane is a little bit rough. It's got a fairly wide mouth on it, so it's going to cut, but not very finely. So I'm going to change planes. I'm going to go to this one here, and oops, this one here has a much finer mouth on it, and so we're probably going to do the same thing. You're going to hear the taking a much finer cut. And can you see when I'm coming off of the wood, it's coming up? That's because there's no air between there, and it's creating like a small vacuum, which is a pretty good indication that it is. And again, I don't know if this will show up on this camera, but that is perfect. So I know it's flat in that direction. That makes sense because of the plane. Now I got to wonder, is it flat in this direction? Because it could be twisted, and we want to make sure there's no twist. And I think I've shown these before. That's where the winding sticks. Wind, spelled like wind. Hey, it's coming. I need a light out there. Winding sticks, pronounced like, it looks like wind, but pronounced wind, and wind is pretty much twist. So I take one, and the little dot shows me where the center is, and I just eyeball that, and I'll eyeball that. I'm going to come over to your section, and I'll see if I can move the camera. Oh, watch out for the wire. And I'm going to get myself down low. Actually, you know what? I'll come from here so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm getting really low, and when I get down so it's parallel, can I do that with the camera? Let me see if I can do it here. Gonna freehand it a little bit. When I get this really low, and I want to get myself parallel with that front one right there. I don't know if you can see it. This one. This corner is just sticking up above. So when I line it up, this side, that's right, this one back here is higher than this, which then means this is higher than that. And what that means is that there is twist or wind in that board. And it's very, very minimal, because when we're looking at that, I mean, I don't know if you saw it, but it was just barely evident that so this side is, just gonna, before I forget, that side is high. So I know that this side is high, but when I look at it, these are 16 inches long. This piece is, you know, two and 3/4, so about 7 times. The amount of twist was exaggerated 7 times. These things are super accurate. If this came off a machine, probably nobody would ever notice it. If I put it down here, I can, the reference surface of the bench is flat and it feels perfectly good. But I'm still going to show you how I fix it. So what I'm going to do, I know this side is high, this side is high. So I am going to try to take a shaving, and I don't know if you saw how I didn't want to go all the way through. I only want to take a little bit off there. So I didn't go and stop. I went and I lifted up so that way the shaving gets feathered in right there. By taking some off of here, taking some off of here, there's a very slight, dip in it, and now I want to take that out. So I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go back until I get a full length, full width shaving, and I'm going to get that on each side. So, like I said, if I did that one, I only have to make one pass, and I really can't be in wind on something like this because of that. Whereas this one, yes, I could be. So I only took one shaving off of each side, and I just don't think I'm going to need much more than that. But this is how we do it. I won't break into song. All right, just bear with me 1 second. I'm gonna double check that. Get my big fat head in the way. And I do like the white garage doors as a background for this. Sometimes I will pull out a piece of white paper and do that as well. And right now, that's like perfect. I don't know that I can make it any better. So when I look over this end, I can't, like the 2 white tabs disappear at the same time. So I am convinced this side is flat. When I was working from this angle, I know that I'm working with the grain. I could feel it with the planes. I can see it in the shavings. The grain is going that way. So I am going to take this, and I'm going to make a face edge, which is pretty much a script F almost. So that way, if oh no, what happened to that piece? I can always orient it that I know the grain runs in that direction. This side is true. I know I've proven that one to be true. I am now going to square off one of the edges. And the good thing I like about this system, I used to, for a long time, I would put this in, I would put this in the vise. Hold on. I would put that in here, squeeze it down. I would plane it, depending on how thin or thick this piece was. By squeezing this way, it could cause a little bit of a belly. So when I took it out and checked it for wind, this could be humped. Not a good thing. So I much prefer this. It is just faster for me to set up. I could just move it and do that. And every now and again, you want to go across the grain. And to do that, I don't have this ready. Oh shoot, where is it? I would use what's called a doe's foot. That would go like that. I would use another hold fast to hold this down, and that would enable me to push across the grain that way, but I didn't really need that in this case. So now we're going to work on the edge. Let me get rid of this, get it off the bench, out of the way. Okay. And I'm going to square up this edge. Not going to start with this plane. This is, I wouldn't call this a smoothing plane. Smoothing planes are generally smaller. I'll use that later to clean up the mark that is on there. I will use the smoothing plane for that. But for now, I want to get a 90-degree edge here. And again, you get. So what I'm working on now is getting a full shaving, and right now I can still see I'm missing some spots, and the grain is not really cooperating with me here. Gotta get some of this stuff out of the way. That's one thing I really like the tool well for that, because I can put, you know, the bench is made of wood. It's not going to hurt the plane blade. That I think is even better because there's a big gap right here. That's the tool well, so the plane doesn't actually hit anything at all. Here we got a sharp corner. Looking back at the light, I can still see some gap between it. And albeit I can use this. This is a perfectly square to check that. I find that this is a little bit cumbersome, and I like the engineer square. It just fits better. Now, let's have a look. Right now, it's fairly easy to see. I don't have. Oh, actually, I have this light here. Okay, let's see if I can get that. You can see quite clearly that this side is low. So the square is not resting all the way across. I can see way too much light behind that. So I've got to take this side down to match that side. And usually, if I'm not talking, this goes a lot faster. I think that was fairly significant. So I am going to take this plane here that's not as, this one's a little bit of a heavier cut. I am only going to cut on this side by putting the edge. So my finger is kind of, acting as a guide, a fence, and I'm only taking off, from my point of view, the right side. And as I go, I'm going to slowly move the plane over. And let's see how that did. And I'm not there yet, but I'm much closer, and I am going to, at this point, switch planes, because I do, because of the narrower mouth, I think this one takes a nicer cut, leaves a nicer finish, but because it does take a smaller cut, I do have to take more passes, and I'm really concentrating on, to me, the right side. But let's keep going. And, oh, we are so close. You know what I did not do? I don't recall this. I did this. I didn't check. Make sure there's no humps in it this way, and there is not. A lot of times what will happen is this will be humped this way. Will not, it won't come this way. The concave will be more convex. And we fix that by creating a concavedness in the middle, which you don't really need to do here because it's not an issue. So again, I'm just going to keep working on that one side. Okay. And the grain here is running really bizarre. So there's some chatoyance in there. I don't know whether the camera will pick it up, that I can see it. The grain is rippling, which makes it harder to plane, which is why you want a nice sharp tool. And I can't get any better than what that is right now. So I know for future reference that is the square end. I am going to take this, I'm going to put a mark here. It's just kind of a V pointing to that. So I know that this face, this edge are perfectly 90 degrees to each other when I am making cuts. When I finally decide to square off the edges and I want to put a knife line around there, I will use those two faces for all of my cuts. I want the square to reference those two faces. I'm going to get two pieces out of here, the right and left side, and because they're coming out of the same piece, it's just a matter of whether I want them oriented that way or that way, but they should stay in the same general configuration, just so it looks good. But it also depends on the pieces coming the other direction, yeah, I want to see, well, like, how does this grain work with that? And I don't know what that's going to look like until I get there. So I don't know for sure, and I can go ahead and the next step will be to take a marking gauge, rip the width down, square up another edge because I know this side's still going to be flat. Do the same thing, but before I do that, I'm going to do the same thing with two of these. I'm kind of liking this piece. This one, if I remember correctly, like I can feel it as I'm going through. The grain on this is just really interlocking and like it's not even smooth in either direction. Right here is smooth if I'm going down, but when I come back, I can feel it. And I don't like the feel of that piece. Kind of like the look of the grain of this one, but I'm just kind of feeling this one. I kind of like the way this looks. We've got some oil stains, it looks like, but when I plane that should come out. I may need to use both of these. I don't think this one is long enough, even like cut it in half, or even if I resaw it down. I don't know if I'm going to have enough. So my guess is I'm going to end up getting these two pieces to the same area as this piece before ripping them down to their final the final width, and then we're going to have to see how wide they can be, how thick they need to be. There's nothing saying the four pieces. I guess all four pieces, they can be different widths. If you look at a door, you'll notice that the rails going across, they're not all the same. Some of them are, the ones usually on the bottom are thicker and they get thinner as they go up. They don't have to be the same width. They do need to be the same thickness in order for it to work as a lid like I want it to. And this is pretty much going to be the limiting piece. Like, how much can I get out of here, and I'll match it to those. So that was dimensioning the one piece. I don't know if I'm going to do the others on camera. Once I get them done, I will show like how I square off the edges, how I start coming up with the measurements of everything. And this will be a 6-sided piece that is, everything is planed, everything is ready to go, and the two of them should be the exact same size. All right, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you next time.